If I start using Claude, do I need to sandbox it, VPN? No, it depends where you're using Claude. You can use Claude in the web app, so that doesn't require sandboxing. This is just chats, projects. There is a version of code inside of the web browser as well. And there is a version of design, which you can use inside the web browser. So if you do everything inside claude.ai, then no, you don't need to sandbox. If you are using their application, desktop app, then it will sandbox itself using Cowork. So you can download it for Mac OS and Windows. I think what you're asking here is for computer use. Cowork in particular can take control of your computer and do things on your computer. It will create its own little sandbox, and then it will ask for permissions to connect to parts of your computer. If you are very sensitive to what else is on the computer, then yeah, sure, you might want to use a secondary computer or sandbox it within that computer. There's another alternative now, which is managed agents, which I can actually find inside a developer. If I go into the API dashboard, we can actually run them. Where's managed agents gone? Or am I in the wrong place? I'm on ChatGPT, that's why. Developers, Anthropic, platform.claude.com, managed agents. So on the left-hand side here, these run in Anthropic Cloud. So if you want to make agents which are totally separated from your specific computer, you can do that using managed agents inside of Claude. It's a bit buggy. Yeah, it's a bit buggy. It's a bit bloody expensive. It's both. So Claude Design is buggy, and then when it does work, you will run out of limits. So I'm being told that I am out of my weekly limit and I am out of my daily limit. I'm being told both of these things. Let me find the exact message. I'm not only being told that I've run out of usage, but there's a bug in the limit message. So it says, you've hit your Claude Design usage limit, try again in about 24 hours. And I got a pop-up that said, come back on Sunday at 8 p.m. So I've hit both the weekly and the daily limit at the same time after not very much use. So currently, I don't think it's workable, sadly. Thank you, Ellen, for the thousands of likes. How are you? I'm just scrolling. Alina says, how do you put yourself like this, small in the circle? So the circle is coming from TikTok. I'm using the front and back camera on TikTok on my telephone. So I'm using my front camera, you can see me waving here, to show my face and to talk directly. And then I'm using the back camera pointed at an iPad, which shows my screen. This is a hack because it's very tricky to screen share on TikTok unless you are doing gaming. So this is not ideal, but it does the trick. If you want the full resolution, the full size, then come over to YouTube. On TikTok, you can see the basics. It took me a couple of days to work out how to do it, and I had to go and buy a tripod arm to hold up the iPad, and it's still very hacky. Is the presentation made by Claude? No, this presentation is made by Notebook LM. What I do every morning is I find the news, whatever's happening each and every day. I'll grab that, I'll write up some notes, throw it into Notebook LM, and it will spin up a presentation like this. Claude is not as good with this kind of presentation. You can do slide decks inside of Claude Design. The problem is it doesn't generate images. So what's happening with the Notebook LM, specifically the presentation here, is each of these slides is actually an image. Each of this slides is an image generated by Nano Banana Pro. So this text and these elements are not generally selectable because it is generated in one shot, which is such a smart way to use Nano Banana Pro. So it allows me to spin up a presentation like this, which allows me to do a live stream with the presentation every single day, which otherwise, if I had to make this from scratch, would be an absolutely nightmare. Not all of it makes sense. Sometimes there will be things that I will see in the presentation that doesn't make sense to me, but for the most part, it's 80% of the way there. It allows me to have something visual rather than me just talking at you guys. So Claude can make presentations, but they will be much more text-based. Absolutely fine, it's just a different type of presentation. Just lost my spot. Lost it totally. Isn't FFFFF, so pure white, a huge no for design if you have lots of text and reading on your site. So pure white, avoid. This is why Claude Design is trying to avoid that by using this off-white. It's just it always goes to this same off-white here. So we don't necessarily want pure white. This one here that I've got at the end is no good either. We don't want it to be pure white. If you go onto my actual website, you can see this is not pure white. You don't want pure white because pure white and black writing is quite strenuous for the eyes. It's not something you really notice until you read a lot on that page. So we tend to use a slight off-white. The problem is with Claude Code is it always goes to this kind of slight oyster color. So it's an off gray with a slight red or slight terracotta tinge. And because it always goes to that color, then it looks very AI generated. Going through. The limits are so annoying. Yep. I see limits, but Claude still works anyway. Yeah, the limits for Claude Design are separate to the limits for Claude Code. That's its only redeeming feature right now. If they were the same limits, I would say do not touch Claude Code, Claude Design at all. Because Claude Design has its own set of limits, yes, play around with it. You will run out of your limits within a few minutes. As I did this morning, I immediately hit my daily limit after one prompt. But because it's split out from my normal limits, I'm okay with that. If that had impacted my Claude Code and I couldn't do any work for the rest of the day, I would be extremely annoyed with Claude Design right now. But thankfully, it is earmarked. When you hit the limits, you can go out in the sun instead. No, I've still got my Claude Code. I'm not going anywhere. Claude console. Oh, Colt, you're playing with Claude Design right now. How are you finding it? I've just hit my limits within about 10 minutes this morning, and I'm on the $200 a month plan, so it is unusable at the moment, unfortunately. But tell us what you think. Okay, cool. Thank you, guys. I'm going to finish this up. The tidied up edited version of the live stream will be placed on YouTube, as well as the full version will be in the newsletter. I'll show you what that looks like. The newsletter every day is a summary of what I covered in the live stream. It has all of the references, various tweets, the PDFs, many short videos are connected, all inside the newsletter every single day. That is one way to consume the content. If you also go to YouTube, you'll be able to find the cleaner versions. For example, the live from last Friday, tidied up and edited as well. That is all available on aiwithkyle.com. Join the newsletter, totally free, or YouTube AI with Kyle, and you'll be able to find all the videos as well. Make sure you are subscribed, make sure you are signed up, and I will send that to you every single day. I will send out the guide about how to use Claude Design, including specific advice on how to make sure it doesn't look too generic. I can't give you any advice on how to avoid the limits because the limits are the limits and they are aggressive, but I can give you advice on how to avoid generic design. Hopefully those limits will relax over the next couple of weeks, but don't hold your breath. Thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you. YouTube is saying, does Managed Agents use API credits or my Claude Max limits? It uses API credits. And what time do you start your lives? Kind of depends. I try to do them at 10 a.m. Cyprus time, which is 8 a.m. UK time. You can find everything tidied up and edited on the YouTube channel as well. Thanks, guys.